Welcome to our continuing series of videos on national income. Previously, we've looked at the expenditure approach to measuring national income. We saw that expenditure approach to measuring national income is the aggregate expenditure incurred on goods and services annually in a country. But this has a problem. It has a difficulty. The expenditure approach fails to distinguish properly between intermediate goods and final goods. And this brings about the possibility of including a good or a service more than once, whereas only final goods are included in national income estimates. This leads to the problem of double counting, which leads to overestimation of national income. The value added approach to national income tries to solve this problem. This method is used to measure national income in different phases of production in the circular flow. It shows the contribution, that is value added, of each producing unit in the production process. Every individual enterprise adds certain value to the product, which it purchases from other firms as intermediate goods. When value added by each and every individual firm is summed up, we get the value of national income through value added approach. In this context, therefore, value added refers to the addition of value to the raw material, that is intermediate goods, by a firm by virtue of its productive activities. It is the contribution of an enterprise to the current flow of goods and services, and it is calculated as a difference between value of output and value of intermediate production. Let's take an illustration of country X, which consists of three sectors: agriculture, manufacturing, and others. Its national income, or GDP, would be computed as follows. As you notice from that table, we've got the industry, and in the industry, we have three sectors: agriculture, manufacturing, and others in our column 1. In 2, we have total output in all these sectors. In 3, we have the intermediate purchases. For now, we could calculate value added by getting the difference between total output minus intermediate purchase in each of the sectors of the industry. And in agriculture, we notice that total output is 70, intermediate purchase is 45, and when we subtract 45 from 70, we end up with 25 as value added in that particular sector. The same can be done with the manufacturing sector, where total output is 55, and when we less 25, the intermediate purchase, we end up with value added of 30 in that sector. Well, in the other sectors, total output is 30, we less intermediate purchases, and we end up with value of added of 20. Now, when we sum up the value added in each sector, we end up with GDP by value added in country X as 75. A different approach is to add all the total outputs in the different sectors and the intermediate purchases in the same sectors, and we less intermediate purchases from total output, and we shall end up with the same figure as we had computed previously. So the GDP for country X is 75,000. Let's look at another question. It's part of a question that was done or was offered by an examining body. We've been told the data provided below represent economic transactions for a hypothetical country in billions of shillings. We have three sectors: agriculture, agricultural, manufacturing, and service. We have the values for total output, 55, 96, and 71 for each of the sectors respectively, and intermediate purchases, again for each of the sectors. For now, we are going to ignore these bits, but to come back to it at a later video when you're looking at the domestic product at market price and the domestic product at factor cost. Our interest in this video is only the GNP using value added approach. And I'm sure you're calculating it, where we have total output in agricultural sector being 55, intermediate purchase being 24. So what would be the value added? We do the same for manufacturing, and we do the same for services. And then you add up those values. Take a few seconds. Good. Let's look at the solution. Now, again, I've done this in form of a table. I have the sectors, I have the total output, and I have the intermediate purchase, and I'm sure you ended up with similar figures in whichever approach you adopted. If you chose to look at the value added approach in each of the sectors and then added up, you'd end up with 93,000. And if you choose to compute total output in all sectors and then you subtract that, again, I'm very sure you'd end up with the same values. We can move on to a different question. Question 2. Again, take a minute. Still, ignore this statement here. We'll look at it in a different video when you're answering Roman 2 and Roman 3. For now, we are only interested in gross national product. Right? Sure you're done. Let's look at the solution. Again, we have the various sectors, the total output. For instance, in the surface sector, the total output is 76,000. The intermediate purchase is 37,000, which gives us value added value of 39,000. Agricultural sector, we do the same and we divide that value added is 32,000. And in manufacturing sector, the value added is 42,000. When we sum those up, we end up with 113,000. The figures are in thousands of shillings, so this should be shillings, 113 million. That brings us to the end of value added approach to national income. In our next video, we'll look at other concepts in national income and also income approach to national income. Thank you. This has been Moya Kehuba.